This is the MD6301 from Production to Retail presentation by Thomas Broadway from Wolfwave Collective. Beginning the label, and immediately we have a quote here from Ruzensky who says, "Most successful independent labels are established by record executives with many years of experience in the industry. Some are started by former recording artists and others by people who simply have a passion for music. If you're part of this last group, you'll have to make up for your lack of experience by learning as much as you can about the music industry. Taking this into account, I found it important to find a group with good chemistry and a similar passion for music. It's because it is crucial to have those ingredients to make a successful music label. Once a group had been decided, we researched and learned as much about the music industry as we could." When researching during the start of the record label, it was my role to research other independent record labels that had become successful. I looked heavily into hip-hop based Stones Throw records. There's a quote here from Yates that says, "In a polarizing market of monolithic majors who gorge themselves on new artists, and the niche independents driven by people with passion and tiny budgets, there are few labels that truly reach iconic status, but Stones Throw Records is one of them." Due to their success, I looked into the way they marketed their album releases, and in particular the first Damn Funk album. Peanut Butter Wolf, the head of Stones Throw Records, says that he created hype by releasing a box set in hope that people would buy into the fabricated prestige of the packaging. Although I didn't want it to be fabricated, I did want the packaging to be prestigious, and wanted it to come across as a collector's item rather than just another CD. This is an idea we'd use further into the Wolfwave Collective campaign. When deciding upon a name for the music label, we all jotted down 5 ideas each. I had the idea of Wolfwave. The collective part came from a different name idea, but we put the two together to come up with Wolfwave Collective. When the name Wolfwave Collective had been decided upon, it was given to a graphic designer who was a friend of labelmate Joe Dixon. This was so that we could have a logo design ready for us as soon as possible. When researching acts as sign, my main role during this period was attending local gigs to try and find an act who I believed suited the label. Cheltenham-based act 10 Tombs immediately caught my attention. I checked out their SoundCloud and social media presence and was impressed by their potential. I approached them for a meeting and conducted a list of things that the label could offer them that potential rival labels may not be able to. Though artist Demi Mariner was approached by a different label mate, I was able to conduct a list for her as well. Here are 2 images of the contracts that both artists signed. This demonstrates that both artists were happy with what they had been offered. Once the artists had been signed, we started to build our social media pages. It is important when using social media as a platform to promote a market that the posts are relatable, relevant and interesting. My role when trying to build our social media presence was to focus on Twitter. We have a quote here from Iwinski that says, "The secret to successful twittering is to only tweet about relevant topics of interest to your fans. Keep the tweets informative and not so intimately personal that you lose people." This just goes to show how important it can be using Twitter. Posts need to be relatable, relevant and interesting so that the followers do not become uninterested and bored in our brand. Here is an image of a news story that I retweeted. Retweeting is something that a lot of relevant Twitter accounts do in this day and age. It is a tactic used to keep followers interested. Next up we have a tweet I wrote that seems a bit more personal than the rest of our tweets, but was done to showcase that they were playing a gig and to advertise that they were playing in a different country as well. We also used Twitter as a platform to announce things. This kept our followers excited and interested in what these announcements were going to be, keeping them clicking on our page regularly. As well as these things, we also used our Twitter to retweet fans of the act. This made our Twitter a lot more easier to interact with and made people a lot more aware of who we were. Onto the recording process for the EP by 10 Tombs titled "If You Keep Me, I'm Yours." When we were in the studio with 10 Tombs, my role was to act as a co-engineer and an executive producer. I was recording takes when labelmate and head engineer Joe Dixon was taking breaks. As well as this, I ensured the comfort of the band by offering fluids regularly and making sure everything in the studio was of standard. Once the recording had been done, it was my duty to pack down microphones, wires and help carry any heavy equipment. My roles during the studio process were to help the band feel relaxed and comfortable. This ensured we got the best takes as possible we could out of them. Unfortunately, I was not able to be present for the Demi Mariner EP recording. This was because I was away. Once the EP had been recorded, mixed and mastered, we began preparing for the live event. When preparing for the live event, it was my duty to book the venue. Originally, we looked at booking a venue for artist Demi Mariner, but due to her busy schedule, we were not able to do that. I contacted the Frog and Fiddle about availability for our 10 Tunes headline gig for our live event. When we booked all artists, I printed off posters that were designed by my label mate Matt Barrell. Once the posters were done, we began work on creating the CDs, making sure they were ready for the live event. The package idea I had researched earlier in the Wolfwave campaign, we ended up using, making sure that the CDs were more of a collector's item than just a regular CD. As well as this, I also helped finalise the t-shirt design that we ended up using for the Wolfwave merchandise. We did this in white and black. Unfortunately, we were only able to sell the white t-shirts as the black t-shirts were far too expensive to print. Here you can see the receipt from the posters I bought from Fat Flyers. I bought 8 posters as I felt it was a suitable amount to spread round Cheltenham. Here you can see the t-shirt design that both me and label mate Matt Barrell had decided upon. In the lead up to the live event, my role was to inform all acts on time of arrival for soundcheck, as well as asking from their tech specs. As you can see here in the 3 images, I asked each act separately. As seen here, I also informed them that a PA and sound engineer was available. When it came to the live event, I was there on soundcheck. This was to make sure that every band and act had arrived on time and was comfortable with the set. After this, I firstly organised a rider. This was to make sure that all acts felt comfortable and were happy with the place they were playing in. A rider is very important, as the quote here says, having all the right items, brackets rider, of the artist's preference not only show you care as an organiser, it also makes it more likely that they will come back for any future events you host. This was something that was really important to us as we planned on doing more events. Throughout the event, I announced each act before they came on stage. This was to add a bit of professionalism and grab people's attention before each act had started. Overall, I was just checking on the well-being of the acts and gig goers throughout the evening, making sure they were having a good time. As well as this, I created a Spotify playlist that was used during the breaks between each act. This was for the sake of atmosphere. As seen clearly here in the 2 photos, there's a picture of me announcing during the gig and also the playlist that I had made especially for the gig. Days after the live event, label mate Eddie Richardson and I continued to sell merchandise at Cheltenham-based festival Glastonbury. Glastonbury is a popular local festival that 10 Tunes played at. This gave us a great opportunity to sell as much merchandise as we possibly could, which thankfully we were able to do, selling out all our merchandise at the Glastonbury show. This ensured that we made profit on all of our merchandise. What I would do differently throughout the campaign. One of the things I would have done differently is I would like to have worked closely with both acts rather than just one. I feel like I put a lot of my time and effort into 10 Tunes rather than Demi, and I wish I had a better balance with that. Another thing I would do differently is I would help more with the mixing of the EPs we had recorded, as it would have taken pressure and reduced the workload of label mate Joe Dixon, who at some points was struggling throughout the campaign. And here is my bibliography for the MD6301 production to retail presentation.